All right. Welcome back to the Board Drill Podcast. As always, I'm your host. With me is my co-host, Matt. Tonight, we have a special guest, Coach Tom Elder, the Associate Head Coach and Defensive Coordinator at Chaminade High School in New York. Coach, welcome to the Board Drill.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, Coach. So tonight, we're going to be talking a little bit about five-man pressure systems. Super excited about that.
Yeah, no, we're excited. It's become a lot of what we do here. Talk about like why, but it's essentially become a piece of our base defense. So
It's
we love
fantastic.
it. And work for us. So
All right, I'm pumped to hear it. So I'm going to go ahead and share that screen. If you're listening while we're sharing the screen, go ahead and like and subscribe to us on YouTube. Make sure to like and subscribe or follow us on Twitter, follow us on TikTok if you're on TikTok, and also go to www.boarddrill.com and subscribe to us there. That way you can get our weekly articles direct to the mail to you, right to your email. So, Coach, we got it shared, the screen. It's just a fantastic opening slide. So I'm going to let you take it away, and we're just going to ask questions.
yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, so for us, I want to talk a little bit about like how we build a pretty diverse five-man pressure system. I've heard some defenses get called like the West Coast defense, right? All those tags. Well, I wouldn't say we're that extent of like a Gary Patterson type deal, but we try to keep everything as simple as possible, give guys different responsibilities based on the calls that we're using, and let our guys play fast. We're a pretty high academic school here, so these guys have a lot going on, and we want to not give them too much more on top of all the crazy work that they got day to day here. So excited to get rolling.
All right.
So for us, I like to categorize it as like a 3-4. I think we've evolved into that like old like Aranda 2-4-5. At the end of the day, we're undersized. We play in a pretty competitive conference here, and we need to make sure that we're playing our best 11. And for us, a lot of those 11 guys are that linebacker type body. So when you see us on film, you'll see even front stuff. We have two guys stood up. We do play a fair amount of odd front, but essentially we want to utilize our undersized athletes up front. We want to be able to move a ton. We want to be in a lot of pressure. And ultimately that ties into us being able to ease the load on our back end guys, right? We have good football players. We're a big lacrosse school. So we do a lot of those two sport, 3-sport type guys with us. And again, we play in a really competitive conference where we're seeing those FCS type guys week in and week out. So we don't love having those one-on-one matchups for extended periods of time, right? So we feel like this gives us the best chance to stop the run first and foremost, but ultimately put our guys in the front and the back end the best possible position to be effective and win football games. And as we've evolved and figured out, what's best for who we have year to year, it's really led to our philosophy of like, we want to do our best to attack what you do, right? And that's how we've built this is to be able to, at times, as best as possible, have the chalk list, right? And make sure that we're dictating where we want the pressure to go, how we want to attack your runs, your protections. And for us, we are a base split field cover 4 team, right? Essentially starting with an attack and then allowing that aggressive nature of cover 4 handle your adjustment, handle your answers and things of that nature. So that's kind of the impetus of how we built this as a staff. And again, for us this year, it led to some good results for us.
Yeah. So you're saying basically kind of some 3-4 stuff and then into that like Aranda peso kind of, like you said, you're still running, it looks like 2 DNs, but right, they're more like backer bodies, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. So you can see like both those guys, the guy, our weak side, outside linebackers are quick. That guy's, 5'10", 200 pounds, right?
Yeah.
He's going to play lacrosse at Syracuse next year. Kid was a dynamic athlete, really good football player. But, you see the team we're going against, like they're going to be 6'3", 6'4" across the board, right?
Yeah.
Our average this year was like 5'10", 200 pounds, right? So again, awesome kids, awesome football players. But at the end of the day, like, are we going to be able to line up and mint or tight every down and just play base football?
Yeah.
I wish, right? But that's not the recipe for us, So, our even front's going to look like that. We are going to be the split safety field. Our bandit is that stand up, that star nickel type guy. We call him a bandit. Our two inside backers, and then our free safety and our rover. You're going to hear me talk a little bit like field and boundary. I use that as kind of like a general term. We aren't like a true field-based defense. We're more, we're going to set our defense to your passing strength and then adjust to those kind of change of strength motions.
Yeah.
So just kind of laying the groundwork for some of the things you're going to hear later. And then again, there's going to be our odd front, right? So we do base our odd front of a 4-0-4. It gives us the ability to, what I always say, like a line to win, right? Like if I'm going to ask you to long stick or short stick, I want to put you in a position where you can get there and get the job done. It also is nice because like in New York football, this is the film we're getting. This is the film we're given, right? So if you look at this when you're game planning us, that could be a 4, that can be a tight 5, that can be a 4-eye, right?
Yeah.
So it does give us the ability to disguise a lot what we're doing pre-snap. And in those days and games where we think we like the matchups in mint, we can do that, but it still looks very similar to our pressure packages.
Yeah, 100%. That makes a lot of sense.
So, like, I love this. I'm a football nerd, like everybody, who does this podcast and watches this podcast. And, I know every like football nerd reads Art of War. And I was always like, what's the big deal with this book? Right. I read it, and this was like the one quote that really resonated with me. I think fits what we do. Not going to go through the whole thing, but just like, hey, there's 5 notes, right? There's 5 main notes. And with those 5 notes, you can create endless melodies. And that's kind of how we look at how we build these pressures. We're not going to have a ton of concepts. Like I said, we don't want to overload our kids thinking wise, but we can take the concepts we do have, combine them a ton into what looks like to an offense 10, 15 pressures, right?
Yeah.
For us, it's very, very minimal thinking. And again, allows us to be targeted. Also allows offenses to have to put time on task with these pressure packages, right, that we're doing that are pretty easy for our guys. So to start, for us, that kind of package, that whole melody, if you want to call it, right, starts with the coverage, right? So the predominant coverage that we're going to use with our zone pressures is going to be 3 under 3 deep, right? And when we teach it to our kids, we draw up a box just like this, right? And we say, hey, we're always going to have 3 underneath guys, 2 hot 2, 2 hot 3 players, and 3 deep third players. Who does what is going to be dictated by the pressure that we call, right? So for us, the term that we use with our guys is the safety to the side of the pressure is going to follow the pressure. That could be a hot 2, that could be a hot 3, that can be a third, right? But ultimately, everything that we do is going to be very technique driven, right? So we're going to cross train all of our guys to do all these different things, right? Hot 2 players are going to be standard, skiff, whatever you want to call it. They're going to have 2 out and up. They're going to carry the vertical unless something crosses their face. Hot 3 players are going to push to number 3. Collision carry 12 to 15 yards. If 3 pushes to the flat, you're going to find the new 3, right? If my guy stays in to protect, I'm going to drop based off quarterback intention, right? So all that's going to be very same as teaching, which again, like when you teach it, in our opinion, with that technique-driven model, where it's not like who I am, it's where I am. I feel like it really allows these guys to do a lot more than I think high school kids are given credit to be able to do. And then ultimately, from a run fit standpoint, we teach our kids, if your pre-snap threat is in the box, you're in the fit, right? And that really ties into that next coverage we're going to talk about, because then that next coverage is going to give us answers. But 3 under 3 deep is going to be the predominant thing that we use, because it does allow us to use it behind any and all pressures that we're ultimately going to call. We're going to have man pressure, we're going to have 6 mans, things like that. But ultimately, this is again where we live.
Yeah, no, I love that, Coach. I think that a lot of people have, I don't want to say moved on from 3 under 3 deep, but right, they've gone to the hot 2 and now some of the hot quarters and all the stuff. And I still think I love the 3 under 3 deep. We do our coverage slightly different than you do yours, but right, to each his own. I'm still a big fan of the 5-man 3 under 3 deep, because I think you still have enough guys to run a pretty decent coverage, as opposed to when you go hot 2, like, look, they throw the sail route, we're in trouble in hot 2. Like that's just, it's a hot 2 killer. But in 3 under 3 deep, we have the ability to cover the sail route. That's kind of what I like. And And I guess in this area, I don't know about where you're at. People throw the sail route quite a bit. So
We see it quite a bit. I think New York has gotten the same trends as everybody else. That spread world. We do, we'll see a wing T team here and there. We still have a single wing unbalanced team in the conference that we see. And yeah, I mean, it's a nightmare, and it kept me up all summer just preparing for like what that looked like. But for 95% of the teams that we're going to see during the season, I love it because I've done it where we were a base cover 3 team, and 3 under 3 deep was what we did with our pressures as well. It's still great, don't get me wrong, but to have that split safety look, and then to change the picture on a quarterback while adding pressure in his face, I've just felt like it's way more effective than the latter, right, or the former, to be able to change that picture, bring pressure, and now again, you're like, I've heard it on this podcast a bunch. I've heard a lot of coaches talk about it, right? You don't want to beat the coordinator. You want to beat the 17-year-old quarterback. Right? So that's what we feel like this matched up with our base cover 4 allows us to do is, changing those pictures post snap, making that 17-year-old have to think and make the perfect decision, which sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Right.
100%. And just to add into that, like you're talking about, I'm with you. I've always been a 2 high guy pre-snap, and right, we've run a lot of 1 high coverages, but I like rotation off of that 2 high. And personally, I've been a split safety, quarters guy myself. Look, most of the times when you run quote sky or whatever you want to run to the backside, that's still to me very similar to weak rotation cover 3.
Yeah.
I know it's not the same for a lot of people, but run fits wise, it's very similar. And so that's where, like, look, we were always a split field quarters team and a weak rotation cover 3 team. Those are the first 2 coverages always, because I think they go hand in hand. But
yeah.
Anyways, just wanted to touch on that.
When we do some of our like weak side pressure stuff, it's going to look just like that, right? Like, and that's again what we're trying to do: keep that picture looking as much like we're running base as possible until we're not.
Yeah, 100%.
And then the other thing that we can really tag those pressures with is going to be that combo Big 12 stuff, right? There's got 1,000 different names for it, 1,000 ways to skin a cat, but this has been something that we implemented this past year. It's so great because it's so easy, right? It's when we're teaching our guys day one all the different cover 4 checks in that split field world, it allows us to say like, hey, like we're bringing weak pressure here. Hey, all you guys to the field, you're doing the same stuff we've been doing since day one, right? And the only nuance here, outside of like the wall and 3 and things like that, like we're just playing 0 to the backside now, right? So you'll see like it does help again with that like first down changeup, right? I'm gonna keep that shell exactly the same now, and now I'm going to add that extra pressure into a quarterback's face, and that's tough, especially when we're doing so much rotational stuff with pressures. It's one more thing they got to prepare for. But this has been great, and this has been great for a lot of the answers that we've needed in regards to the RPO world, right? We see a lot of downfield RPOs, so we're able to keep 3 over 2, 4 over 3. Talking about run fits before, we're able to utilize our base run fit teaching, right? Not only is the guy whose threats in the backfield going to be the one guy in the fit, but now you're going to add the overhang, right? So you're bringing 5, you're essentially gapped out for the most part, and now you have that extra fitter in the box. So there's a lot of benefits to I think carrying both.
Yeah, Coach. These are day one. The Big 12 pressures are day 1 and 2 install for me. So I'm right there with you. These are, heck, I feel like we've coached together before because this is all very familiar stuff. But no, Matt will tell you I'm a huge fan of these pressures. So wow, I can't wait to talk more about them.
Yeah. So just to kind of go back to the little foundational stuff for us, right? Again, we're very technique driven. So just to kind of give you the foundation of what we're telling our guys from a base install standpoint. Up front, we're saying, hey, if you're a C-gap player, you're a surf squeeze quarterback player, right? You're forcing the give. You're inside out in the quarterback. If he does pull it, you're outside in on dive once it's declared. And all of our interior gap guys are going to be chase dive players. Now, if we're seeing a team that runs midline, all right, we're going to tell that 3 tech to surf, but we don't see a ton of midline. But, you'll see how this then translates when we start talking about how we're teaching our pressure players. This base teaching and rule system translates over to that stuff. So to go into the pressure stuff, right? So we have 3 essentially ways that we teach our guys how to blitz. And just like hot coverage, right, we're going to cross train essentially everybody. So we have our edge path guys. I can't take credit this. I'm sure you see the vernacular, and I stole that directly from Dan Lanning.
Yeah.
But it's been really helpful, right, to teach the kids why we're doing this. That high gear, low gear, right? Running back away from me, I'm a high gear guy. I'm aiming for the outside near the ball carrier. I'm shot out of a cannon. I'm thinking go, 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 right? If I got running back to me, I'm low gear. So again, going back to base rules, I'm going to get to the heels of the offensive lineman. I'm going to surf and squeeze. I'm going to force the give, right? I'm going to fall late on the dive. And I think you'll see some of our guys did a better job than others at that. A lot of guys just hear, hey, I'm going, and I'm going. But you see tastes of it, right? And then we have our via the neck path. So still going to be a perimeter path, but now we're taking that 45 degree or less angle towards the B gap, right? And we've been big believers since I started coaching of not really teaching like, hey, you're blitzing the B gap, blitzing the C gap. It's more of this path type thing. With the via the neck, it's going to be, hey, I'm reading that outside hip of the tackle. All right. Yeah. If he's to me, I'm crossing his face to green grass. If it's away from me, I'm going to chase off his heels and I'm going to go for the dive. Right. So it still lives in that world of, hey, interior gap, I'm a dive player, but now how I get there is going to be a little bit different. And for us, it's been like, we don't want to lose a piece of this pressure by crossing the face of a down block, right? That's what offensive line.
Don't get caught in the wash, coach. That's the biggest thing. We had that early on, and it drove me nuts. And we had to work so many drills, but once our kids got that, solved a lot of problems.
Yeah, it's just like it's that 2-for-1, right? Especially in the high school world, at least for us in New York, it's if you can show that 2 off the edge, whether it be an edge guy in an end or that via the neck.
Yeah,
it's a nightmare for a quarterback to read. Am I giving it? Am I pulling it? And I can't be right. And then we have our face to the guard, face to the tackle pass. So that's typically going to be your inside backers. Same idea as via the neck, right? So I'm aiming for the out. If I'm face to the tackle, I'm aiming for the outside eye of the tackle. If that face is to me, I'm finding green grass inside of the B gap. If that face is away from me, I'm going to run the hoop and chase the dive. So again, just going 2-for-1, making sure we create free rushers. And we drill a ton of this stuff. It's anytime we do a blitz day, that's going to be the crux of how we're doing our Indy that day. I wish I had stuff. The resources for us aren't plenty, so I didn't have a ton of drill film for you. But we do work that a ton. And then finally, most importantly, is going to be our front, our defensive line. So we teach 3 key, main things. We do have a couple other things when it comes to like our creepers and our sims, but nail, rail, and upfield anchor is where we live. Nail is going to be your traditional short stick. Rail, what we call, is going to be a long stick, and then upfield anchor is essentially something we're just going to tie into that via the neck pressure path, right? So his base rules of hey, tackle to me, I'm going to ricochet, stay in the C gap, squeeze the gap down, or hip away from me, I'm going to surf and squeeze. Those are the same. We're now just going to tell that guy, hey, get like 2 yards, 1.5 yards upfield, right? Create room for that via the neck guy to either chase off the heels so we're not tripping each other, or, where we see a lot of benefits of it is, hey, that tackle is going to base block your end. If I get a little bit more upfield than I'm supposed to, it's going to open up that B gap, a ton. Right, so now this is how we start building it. So we teach those pressure pass. Everyone knows all those pressure pass and how to operate within them. And then we use these tags, again, to really make sure we can be targeted with our approach, right? Make sure that I don't have to guess right all the time, right?
Yeah.
It's all tendency driven. And listen, I've done, hey, this blitz is blast, this blitz is whip, or, whatever you want to call it. And I like that. There's nothing wrong with that. For us, this just worked better for us to say, like, hey, they're a big power to the tight end team, right? So we either want to manipulate blitz into the run-through window by going open, or we want to go into it by calling tight, and we can do the same thing with, near far. So all these different tags allow us to be very targeted with where we're bringing pressure and who's blitzing. And then essentially how that's going to operate is we're going to come out, they're going to make their field boundary call, right? And then that Mike really is going to make a call, call it Roger Leo, right? Telling everyone, hey, Roger, blitz is coming from the right. Okay. That tells everyone, hey, blitz from the right. That means D line's going left. That means safety to the right's going down, right? So it does ease a lot of that teaching. You know, we do have a fair amount of two-way players. So to make things more of a conversation on the field, unless, hey, I got to memorize all my offensive stuff and my defensive stuff, it has just worked for us. So again, like for us, a combination of front indicator and then at the end we'll talk about the tags that we do allows us to be very specific with our target attack, right? So if we're seeing a zone team, how do we want to attack zone, right? You know, are they big and trudging along, right? Well, maybe we want to cross the face of those guys and go against the grain. You know, are they a little bit more athletic? Maybe we want to be able to cut off zone and make that thing cut back into our pressure, right? So we're based on what you do and what your 1, 2, 3 base runs are, we're going to hopefully have something that either takes it away or really limits you from getting that 3 yards in the cloud of dust. So our first pressure path, and I'll be honest, we ran crash 60% of the time. You know, it's simple, but you get a lot of mileage out of it, especially when you start running coverages behind it and tags with it. But it's just your simple edge path, right? So if we're bringing it from the field, it's predominantly going to be the bandit, unless you give us 3x1 and then we're going to swap it, right? So again, keeping that shell, making sure we can maintain the integrity of the shell and the defense, and then changing the picture last minute. If it is coming from the boundary, we love to use the corner as much as possible.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, no one accounts for it. That guy comes free, whether it's a pass situation or run situation. No one does. You know, to the point where like we're looking at ways to incorporate the corner in the fit even more, just because no one accounts for it. Right.
Yeah. I mean, Coach, I just wrote an article about, I don't know, it's probably a couple weeks ago now, but just in using trap 2 coverage and fitting your corner and how many teams are doing it now, you know, and I have film from the FCS and the FBS of a bunch of teams doing it because just like you said, if as corners get bigger, and they are getting bigger now and becoming better tacklers because they want to be better tacklers because now you get to blitz them a whole bunch. So now,
yeah, exactly.
Now people are using trap coverage where, you know, if it's run action, they just trigger them like a corner blitz. If it's pass action, they play cover 2. But that's what's happening a lot. So I'm with you. I just think that good defenses utilize the corner and fits because the offense isn't expecting it.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, the amount of ways we can change the run fits is how we win games. Not, you know, if we're not better, which I'm with you, most teams I coach at some point, we're not better than someone because I've won 0 state championships. You have to figure out a way to change the fit to beat teams that are, you know, more physically dominating than you. And if you can change the picture enough, I'm with you. I think you can do a lot. My question is, when you call crash, is that all those tags that you had the slide before, are you using those tags to dictate where the crash comes from? Is that what you're saying here?
Yeah, basically. So like if we're seeing that team that's going to run a ton of run to the tight end and you know, whether it's zone or whatever, right? You know, we're going to, when this comes out of the huddle, we're saying tight crash, right? Tight
okay.
crash, potentially a tag, and then the coverage behind it. So, and we even got to a point this year. I said we have a lot of smart kids. We're a high academic school, so you know they were able to get to a point this year where I can just say tight crash, and if it was coming from the field, we were playing 303 deep. If it was coming from the boundary, we were playing Big 12, right?
Yeah.
So it was really helpful because we saw that we wanted to play that split field type coverage behind it as much as we could.
Yeah.
When we're bringing weak pressure, just with all the RPO stuff we're seeing, you know, and sprint out, and you don't want to get flooded to that zone. So as much as we can be in that Big 12 when the circumstances allowed us to do it, we wanted to do it. So we got to a point, I remember like in our Monday install meeting, I talked to our rover and I was like, can we get this done? Like, can we do 303 deep? And can we do, you know, we call it cold, you know, on the backside? And they're like, yeah, we'll get it done. I was like, all right. So we put it out, you know, late in the season, and it was a game changer for us.
Yeah, no, I mean, anytime, like you said, you can change that picture a bunch of times. It's awesome.
Yeah. So then sting, right? You know, that I letter is going to be that time where we're going to go the via the neck.
Yeah.
You know, this year with who we had a corner, he wasn't super comfortable running the sting path. So a lot of the time we just said, hey, safety will run it when we go sting. But ideally, we'd love it for the corner to do it again to keep that too high shell as much as possible. And with these tagged with different fronts, right, we're going to run the gamut of all of our even fronts. So
Yeah.
where we set the 3 technique is going to be a part of that plan of like, how do we want to attack this? Do we want that guy in a 2-eye and crossing the face of the down block of power to
Yeah.
open up that run through? Well, that's how we're going to combine sting with the front with the tag.
Yeah, no, I love that, Coach. And I think, like you said, the big part that makes it, quote, complex, even though you and I look at it as right, these are like day 1, day 2 installs.
Yeah.
Is like you said, you could go one game and bring the corner a whole bunch and you say, oh, this opponent's good at watching film. And then the next game, you could bring the safety the entire time. And they're sitting over there getting ready for the corner. You got that tackle kicking. Now the safety screaming through. So that's where you can be multiple but simple, just like you were talking about, just by switching it, especially on the weak side, right? You can change up who you bring on the weak side really easily. Strong side's a little tougher, but the weak side, especially when you have one wide receiver, man, you can play a lot of games back there. And I think that's where we made kind of a lot of money off of that. Just simple tweaks on the backside by tags and calls, like you said, of, all right, we're going to bring the corner in the first half. And then sometimes the entire second half, we just start bringing the safety. And you could tell how frustrated they were because they were, the tackle starting to kick for the corner and now the safety screaming through B. And they're like, what are we doing here? So I like it. It's cheap. And what I mean, it's cheap to install, and I think it's got maximum effectiveness, and I don't think you have to waste a whole lot of practice time on it once you get it installed.
Without a doubt, it's all like we do these 4 pressure pads we're going to talk about. Like we do them all. It's called day 3, right? So like these are not things that we're having to put a ton of time on task on throughout the year, and it allows us to, like, those tags also allow us to have really nice in-game adjustments, right? Like I've always been a big believer of like, don't do something on Saturdays that you haven't worked on all week, right? Well, I can very easily just change the tag I want to use in the middle of the game that we have prepared for, right? But because they've run crash, they run sting all year round, right?
Correct.
We're just changing where it's coming from based on what you're doing that week.
Now, Matt, this is something that I got to bring you in here, Matt. He says he installs, I guess for all intents and purposes, corner blitz on day 3. And I think we all know my opinion on when corner blitz should be installed, right, Matt?
Yeah. As an offensive guy, I would lose it. Absolutely lose it if that was a day 3 and my O-line had to worry about a corner blitz. That wouldn't work for me, man.
Coach, he says that, but I coached with him and we put it in day 1, so I don't want to hear it. All right, it's corner blitz is a day 1 install for me. So
I love that. I wish
we can install it, just don't run it yet. Don't make my O-line.
No, we're running it. I encourage if you're a DC out there, I encourage you right now. You can show this to your head coach. Put in corner blitz and run it day 1 of practice just for the fun of it. Who cares?
Oh, I love it. So then we have scrape. So this is going to be where we get to our odd front. So, depending on what we're seeing and again, what we've shown on film, right? This is a great adjustment, a great way to attack a couple of different things, whether it be pass protections, inside zone, you name it. So again, for us, it's a very simple adjustment. We go to that odd front, we go 4-0-4. We're going to send the outside backer on the edge path. That doesn't change. Now we're going to implement that face of the guard, face of the tackle, that path. So for this, it's going to be face of the tackle path. And now our D-liner is just going to rail away. So we're going to go 2 gaps away. Go ahead, Coach.
Yeah, I don't want to cut you off. So finish teaching whatever you're teaching there. But
I was going to say, like, we used to just tell the nose, hey, just nail it. But we feel like we wanted to keep it consistent. I think at the end of the day, that long stick is great when you're getting against the grain because you're crossing the face. I think regardless of what you tell that nose to do, if you're getting zone with the pressure, right, or away from the pressure, he's going to cut the field off regardless.
Yeah.
Right. So it's just kind of say, hey, if you get that down block from that guard, I'm not necessarily bending anymore because I'm not bending to anything. I want to now just cut the field off. So that's kind of the tweak that we've said instead of saying like, hey, we're going to just nail it. But go ahead.
Yeah. So, Coach, my big question here is, do you change anything if you get trips here? Like, let's say it's the scrape to the field here and you get trips.
Yeah. So, like our base rule that we tell our guys is, hey, if my pressure path goes through a receiver, we have the ability to swap it. right?
Gotcha.
So with that one man pressure or crash sting, it's a little bit easier, right? Because it's just one guy. I'm not worried about having to over communicate across the box. But we want to make sure that that rule is consistent. So depending on who we're playing, right? If 3 is going to be a Y, right, and he's going to be hand the dirt or sniff, we can swap it once with just the inside backers, right? Say, hey, it's easier for you to play hot 3 closer to that number 3 guy,
Yeah.
and now the Will's going to take the face of the tackle path. If we are getting 3 detached, which we don't love this against 3 detached all times, you'll see we've had some success with it, but we will double swap it. So now the Mike will run the edge of the edge path, and the Will still run that face the tackle path. We just tell that Quick, who's now your weak side hot 2 player, hey, you have to fold in because you're in the fit, right? And that guy's in the backfield. So if he does push to the field, we need to make sure we're looking for the new 2 come from the field.
Okay. Yeah, I was curious. I was wondering whether you were gonna, which I'd have loved is still bring the mic on his path and then wrap the Will all the way around. I was gonna be like, hell yeah.
I haven't had the confidence to do that one yet. I like that though.
Well, it's where it comes in, and right, it's a wild path, but where it comes in is if the team likes to run zone read a lot and you force that pull, and then all of a sudden the Will shows up late for the quarterback. Again, that's we didn't do that a lot, but we did it against zone read teams. One team in particular, kind of in our area, that ran a lot of kind of zone triple. And those we always want to make a bunch of guys disappear on dive and then show someone up late on the quarterback. And when we played our best games, we were able to do that. When we weren't able to do it, they put up a bunch of points on us. So
totally,
it's one of those. If you can hide it, it works. If you can't, you're screwed.
No, absolutely. Now we didn't do it a ton this year, and I don't think I have any good clips of it. But like when we have a team that, hey, we do want to force the pull because we like that matchup better, we can just tag scrape with what we call a switch, right? So now your edge path guy is going to run that face the via the neck path from the perimeter, and that Mike is going to really run an edge path from an internal position, right? So you're forcing the give because you're getting that chase and dive, and now you're popping that Mike out right there. So there's a ton of great ways to do that, but we didn't have a ton of success with it this year. But I love that of just like, and to be honest, like this year, quarterbacks in our conference were extremely dynamic, right?
Yeah.
So we wanted to force to give as much as we could this year.
No, and that makes sense, right? Coach, it's just what you're saying. It's like, hey, this is great and all, but if we want to force the give, let's not do something crazy to make them pull it. So I'm right there with you.
So then the last base pressure path, we're going to have a strike. So now we're taking that end or tackle. They're going to upfield anchor, and the pressure side still going to be the same guys as scrape. So again, like for us, it was nice to be able to say like, hey, crash and sting are cousins, right? It's the same guys going. We're just changing our path up a little bit. Scrape and strike are cousins, right? Same guys going, same swap rules, the whole 9. We're just changing up our path or aiming point. So with strike, now that Quick's going to run that via the neck. Now the inside backer is going to be that face of the guard. So and those rules are translating from pressure to pressure. And again, for us, like very easy adjustments for an offensive line and an offensive coordinator. It's like one more thing I'm preparing for.
Yeah, this one I really like. And Matt, you can tell me a little more because you're the expert at this, but it seems like a good one to go after some pass pro with right here. As you get 2 interior guys, a tackle working out and nose working away from the center. Seems like a really good way. It's not quite 4 to a side because the center's working opposite, but you get the feel like it's 4 to a side. You can get the center to chase. I think this would be pretty good pass rush right here.
Yeah. That's what defenses would always try to do. Try to lure that center to go away from the protection or to get locked in. That's where it'll kill you.
Yeah. And then like with the odd stuff, like we're very easily able to just say like, all right, now we're going to run strong scrape, right? So we're going to bring the bandit, we're going to bring the mic, and now we're just going to start it from our bench front. So we're going to give you an even front picture. We're going to bring an odd front pressure.
Yeah.
And now that Quick's going to just drop, from that 5 technique or the 9 technique. So, it's one more thing that we're adding to your list of time on task.
Yeah, absolutely.
So just to go through some of this film, I'll go through some of the base stuff we're doing first and then talk about the tags. But, for us, this pressure here, we're knowing that they love to go quarterback run, right? So we're going to set the pressure near, right? We want to bring the pressure to the side of the running back. We want to protect our inside backers from all the window dressing, and make sure that we can account for that. Then with that movement, right, you're seeing those nails, that 3 technique, getting the back block is going to cross the face. The shade's going to cross the face of his down block. And the pressure didn't hit, right? But that opened up a run-through window that I could still run through, right?
Oh, yeah.
And cause a TFL. So this movement, again, this is where we were able to really live, because we were going to be much more athletic up front than most teams, ideally.
Yeah, man, what a gap for the mic there. Jesus.
Yeah, the kid was a good player. He saw green grass and he went. So now with these guys, right? So talking about like easy in-game adjustments, they were a week 1 team, right? So for us, we play week 0 here. Didn't have a ton of film on these guys. Didn't see really any bunch from them preparing for them. They had a couple of plays on us with, bringing us in tight with this condensed set and hit the perimeter. So for us, it was like, all right, let's set the pressure to that bunch side. Let's make their bunch guys declare now who I'm blocking, and then cleaned up the picture for our rotating safety working down, right? For him, his key is going to be number 2. So number 2, fits, we're going to replace. So again, it's the way that we did it allowed us to solve a lot of these problems in real time.
Is this basically like your crash right here? You're bringing that, the Q, I guess is what you call them.
Yep. So like, and for us, like our base trips bunch check is going to be, box, whatever you want to call it, right?
Yeah.
So that guy is pressing the point man, even if not bringing pressure. So easy way for us to really change that picture very, very, very quickly.
All right.
So for us here, right, we saw 4th and short, red zone, love play action scenario where we're thinking like, all right, what indicator has been the most effective for us? And it was a very easy way for us to talk as coaches. All right, hey, strong crash is working all day, right?
Yeah.
So let's get this guy under center. Let's put pressure in his face right now, and good things happen. You see our hot 2 player dropping over 2, our hot 3 players, and our Will is going to be our boundary hot 2 player. They're going to relate to their coverage going out, right? We're covered up. Again, all rules stay the same for everyone on the back end. Like to see our boundary corner get a little bit more depth here.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Yeah, he was one of our 2-way guys, so we had some couple of mental buffs with him at times. But at the end of the day, like these pressures and for us, like one of the big things we talk about is effort's going to solve a lot of mistakes that we make, right? So we want our guys flying to the football, arriving to the football in a bad mood, and that effort's going to solve some of those mistakes that we might make. Because
pressure burst pipes, coach. I mean, it's
amen.
It's the way it is. It's either one way or the other. But like you said, if you can get to the quarterback, it doesn't matter what the coverage is.
Yeah. And there's a bunch of film on here, so feel free to rip through these. But this is a good one. So when we talk to our end, right, he needs to know, all right, I'm a B-gap player, so I'm a chase player. Doesn't mean I have to cross the face of the tackle, right? Your job's to nail here, but you get that down block, you get that via release. So with that picture, we're able to show that 2 off the edge, have a dive guy, have a guy for the quarterback right now, make that decision super challenging for a quarterback, right? And again, those rules stay true for us.
Yeah, this is always the important part, like you said, is like, just do your job, right? You have the dive, and there's so many guys that want to hang out because maybe I want to tackle the quarterback or whatever. If like, I tell them all the time, if you just get flat, you're going to have 100 tackles for loss this year. Like, just go. Yeah. Don't worry about the quarterback.
Yeah, and this kid 44, man, like he was so technically sound. So there was times where like he'd get this release from alignment and he'd be surfing. And I'm like, dude, if you just run, you're going to have TFLs all day. So getting some of those guys out of that, which, a good problem to have, right? Hey, like my rule 9 times out of 10 is I get a down block when to surf.
Yep.
I'll take it. I'll rather fix that problem than having quarterbacks running free all the time. But just understand that. So here, we're getting a ton of duo to the tight end, right? Again, they were bigger than us up front. So we wanted to either hit those seams right now or get that tight crash path here, right? And create that big opening in that C gap where duo potentially wants to hit and open up for our inside backers who are going to be in the fit, right? This is that game I was referencing before where, hey, we're bringing strong pressure. We want to go 3 into 3 deep. If we go weak, we want to go, split field. So they were heavy run. We wanted to maintain that extra guy in the fit as much as we can while also using that athleticism to go. So really good job by our quick here, taking the seam, taking his nail steps, knowing that I'm a B-gap chase dive guy and just going right across the face.
Yeah, and I think that's the other, like you said, we go back to how simple it is, but sometimes just crossing O lineman's face, like you said, look,
Yeah.
it may not be the blitzer, right? It may be the guy that's just stemming a B gap that's going to be the guy that comes scot-free like here. And it's just a good way, again, to change the picture, right? That guy's used to down blocking, to the 3-tech or something else, and then bam, here goes this guy to that gap. So
yeah, and just for who we had, like it made sense to put our guys in situations as much as possible to be able to move almost every snap, right? So for us here, this team, a little air raid-esque, we wanted to be able to maintain that split coverage shell as long as possible. Again, this looked, based into the last minute, like, our version of Sky, where we're going to invert that safety down the backside. They're free release in the back. We're changing the picture up front for the offensive lineman. Quarterback sees split field, right? He thinks he's got time. And now we have, again, arguably our best D lineman running free because of that instant change up for the 17-year-olds up front.
now, correct me if I'm wrong. Safety's supposed to just keep going here, not worry about the back, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Will has the back
I was
out.
going to ask the
So
same.
these are the same rules as I'm used to. Will has back out. Safety's got to go here.
Yep. That's our smart guys just thinking a little bit too much there.
No, I mean, it happens, right? You get a quick flash. Maybe he thinks the ball was handed off. Who knows? But
again, to your point earlier, right? Like that D line movement is going to be just as effective and productive as the blitz coming, right? Like this guy makes a mistake here, thinks he has the back for a reason I have no idea. We've never talked about that once, right? But that tackle, seeing him at least attack, is making him set. The movement from the 3 technique is bringing that lineman down with him, and we're just creating free rushers.
Yeah, and like you said, if it's your best D lineman and things like that, right? Anytime you have a really good D lineman that's a movement guy and all that stuff, when you put him on the move, just like you said, that it's a recipe for success. And sometimes they want to identify where your best lineman is and slide things to him. Letting him move a little bit can be the best help for him on those days. So
yeah, without a doubt. Because those guys, again, that kid's going to go play college lacrosse. That tackle was very good, but I take athletically that guy against him right now.
Yeah.
So again, another first down change up, right? We're not reinventing the wheel. We're just calling weak pressure, right? We're calling weak pressure. We want this to look as much like cover 4 as possible. And now we're changing the picture into our 3 highs, our 1 high stuff, right? So we're taking away the first read. We're bringing pressure in the kid's face. Again, that D lineman is able to win his one-on-one matchup right now across the face of the tackle, which, for a lot of 17-year-olds, especially D linemen, they want to take inside moves anyway, right? So now we're just protecting these guys in these situations, right, to be able to do that, to give them the hezzy and take the B-gap now. So now this is what we were waiting for, right, that corner blitz. I'd like to see this kid, right, when we're in pistol, we're telling that kid, hey, your high gear, low gear rules still apply here. But that read's going to happen a little bit later, right? So if I see his back, I'm high gear. If I see his face, I'm low gear, right? So ideally, we like to see this number 15 cross the face and go right for the ball carrier here. But again, those internal, that nose and tackle, those nail steps there, right, against an ISO team, it is eating up man blocks and creating, again, another huge window for our inside linebacker to play free, right?
Now, are you teaching the creep here by the corner?
No, he got caught. He got caught on a what's it called? On 2.
Gotcha.
But for that, just talk about the run fit stuff, right? We tell those underneath defenders, hey, your first step has to be towards your coverage, right? So for that Mike linebacker right now, he was very good. He was very patient, right? So his eyes are on 3. He's able to take one small read step, right? See that guy insert himself into the A gap. And now we're able to vice the football between our high 2 and our high 3 player. All right, so this is where we can get a little bit more, unique with where we want pressure coming. So again, another team that a lot of window dressing with backfield, a lot of window dressing with the jet zone, the jet sweep game. And we just wanted an answer to be able to protect our inside backers from all that window dressing, right? So this week we were able to say, hey, we want to run crash, but we want to run crash to the side of the motion, right? So
Gotcha.
again, very, very easy adjustment for our guys to know, like, hey, I got motion. I'm going to make one call, right? My normal call I always make in pressures. I'm just going to wait to call it until I know where motion's coming from, right? That gets echoed across. D linemen all do their job. And then we were very easily, with us having that Big 12 concept built into the system,
Yeah.
We were able to say, like, hey, everyone away from the pressure is just running cover 4, right?
Yeah.
So it kept the teaching simple, allowed us to put the pressure where we wanted to, whenever we wanted to do it.
No, I love that. I love calling it to the motion.
So for these guys, going back to what we talked about earlier of like why Big 12, right? They were a big RPO team, a lot of 3-by-1. We wanted to maintain that 3-over-2, 4-over-3 picture as much as possible. A lot of pistol, so there was no true indicator for us this week. So we knew going in, like, hey, we're going to bring weak pressure, and we just want to maintain that 3-over-2, 4-over-3 as much as we could. So again, we take away that sprint out with having that 4-over-3 picture over there, right? Their quarterback was a pretty dynamic athlete, so he ran the ball quite a bit. So our bandit jumped in the gun a little bit here. But back to our point before of like why you're calling the crash where you're calling it, you get those nailing D linemen cutting off that sprint out, and now he's feeding right back into your crash pressure coming from the corner.
Sorry, I was muted there. Yep. No, I again, this is just a good piece of it, right? If you're cutting that off, and even the corner from the backside here, right? This is all the way backside rollout. Again, I always like blitzing athletic guys because they can get to places. Blitz an unathletic guy, he may never get there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, big zone team, right? Again, where do you want to attack the scheme, right? For us, with who we have, we wanted to go against the grain of zone. We wanted to cross the face as much as possible, right? So we set the pressure far, okay? And again, going back to knowing, hey, I want to play split field away from weak, okay? So we're able to keep that 3-over-2, take away, that, Ohio, whatever you want to call it, from a concept standpoint, force the give, right? And then blitz right into it.
Yeah, big eyes there on Ohio, Matt.
What's that?
Matt, didn't you used to call it Ohio? The outgo?
Ohio? What do you mean? Oh, no.
What do you call the
Omaha.
outgo?
Omaha.
Top of the screen. Oh, Omaha. That's right.
Well, go out. Yeah. Outgo. The speed outgo was Orlando.
Gotcha. All right. Sorry. That was
cities,
a flashback there.
Cities.
Go ahead, Coach.
Cities.
Love it. So another tag, right? So we wanted to go tight this week, right? We knew we were getting split zone, GY counter, and we liked, again, for us, we wanted to keep things as universal as possible. So for us this week, we knew that, hey, bringing pressure this way was going to potentially answer 2 potential problems for us. With the zone, again, we're crossing the face of these big guys, these guys bigger than us and stronger than us. But if they did run counter, we were able to cross the face of back blocks, right? And again, you see our end doing a really nice job chasing down, right? He's able to get that stutter step. We do teach those nails a certain way. And we always tell those guys, like, hey, if you earn the trust of us to, as they put your own flair on it, but know your opponent enough to do what you have to do to get the job done, right? Then 44 earned that from us. So you see from him, he's able to give a jab, force that base block, and then cross his face, getting 2 off the edge.
Coach, were you key in the running back position on that, or the H-back?
For the blitzer?
For the tight, yeah, you're keying the H-back, right?
No, for the blitzer, he's still keying the back. Yeah, he's still keying the back, so that's why you see him here.
Sorry,
he's getting...
Where are you setting the pressure is what he's asking.
Oh, yeah, the H-back. Yeah, so for us here, there should be a tight crash. So we wanted that thing going to the H-back.
Okay.
So we'd like to see the rover here, again, another tight crash for us. Like to see the rover here, work his way down a little bit more, line to win. But that movement forces the duo to get exactly where we wanted it to go, right? Bounce right back out to that edge path guy. And again, we got 3/2 to the front side. That movement is forcing everything back to where we want it to go. And again, just manipulating the matchups to highlight what our guys do best.
Yeah, Coach, this is right. I mean, what is this, duo or something?
Yeah.
So this is also good against power. I'm the same way, right? You stem those guys into those inside gaps that lets the linebackers climb over top. But then again, when you're bringing the extra edge rusher, that overhang fits a lot quicker now, and it's like you said, it's a tackle for a 1 yard gain here. So
yeah,
I always like these against those teams that run gap scheme stuff, and to me, duo is a gap scheme.
Yep.
Just because it creates that right. It's clogging the interior and making that bounce, and then letting one of your edge fitters, again, one of your more athletic guys, hopefully fit and make a tackle for a minimal gain.
Yep. And there's we ran crash a ton this year, so we have our other pressures a little bit later in here, but another one, right? Like tight, big zone teams at the tight end, when they came at 11 personnel, we knew we wanted to attack that guy, right? Crossing the face of all their bigger guys. Using athleticism, right? We got the 4/3 to the front side, protect ourselves from the RPO. If he was going to go, go Maverick and pull and throw, we felt comfortable out there. Right. So this is a great example of all that movement, right? Making these offensive linemen up front a little bit unsure, like we talked about earlier, right? So, we got a 3-tech move. We like to see that edge guy, that quick cross the face of the tackle here. He got caught up with the tackle. But again, like the movement from the interior, the edge pressure from the corner, right? Occupying all these bodies up front, creating free runners, right? Sound on the RPO side. From a fit standpoint, being there with 303 deep, really the only other guy in the fit here would have been that corner, right? The mic's pushed out a little bit. So, again, this was a little bit earlier in the year. We weren't ready to do the, hey, if it's strong, we're doing this. If it's weak, we're doing this. So we did have to guess a little bit this early in the year, but we were still able to stay sound against the RPO. Another great run-through window manipulated by the movement up front.
Yeah, I mean, that's been the thing I've seen a lot on film, Coach, is just it freeing up your backers to just attack. And you have a bunch of clips on here against many different teams, not just one. So it's not like, hey, here's the crappy team we played. We were able to do this.
No, totally.
You guys are doing such a good job. You have that edge guy, but your backers are just flying through right now. And I think it's good on you guys for teaching the backers that well too, but they got to have a window to fly through. That's right. It's a catch-22. Like, well, the backers flying downhill, we're teaching well, but it's like, yeah, there's got to be a scheme to let them do that. And I think that this is just a great example of, like, because you do this, and we talk about this all the time, when you bring the fifth guy, you're out-gapped on one side of the football, right? So that allows one of the linebackers to flow freely over top. Like, yes, he does have pass responsibilities, but on run action, he can really flow to the football. Typically, obviously if you come strong, it's the mic. If you come weak, it's the will. But when that guy's gapped out and he can do what he's doing right here, man, it's a fun day for a linebacker because he can just play football.
Yeah, and that was the biggest thing we saw, right? Is like, again, with being a little bit more undersized up front, to sit in base and just play gaps we're lined up on, it just wasn't going to be advantageous for those guys in the back end who, for all intents and purposes, were very dynamic.
Yeah.
Right. But I don't care how dynamic you are. If you got linemen in your face 24/7, it's be productive. Right. So that's why it became so much of our base, is to do this type of stuff, because it was able to free those guys up a ton and let them do what they do best and find green grass and go.
Yeah.
So for us here, right, talk about like easy halftime adjustments. They made a really great adjustment, late in the second quarter, got us on a couple of plays. We were bringing pressure to the back a ton to protect against the quarterback run game. And again, back to what I said earlier is did we practice far crash a ton that week? No, probably not at all, right? We didn't run far crash a lot all season. But within halftime, we felt like far crash was going to be a great change up to solve the problem, right? So we were very easily able to say, like, hey, now our adjustment going into the second half is we're going to bring pressure away from the running back based on what they're doing. And all right, we didn't practice it, but we've run crash all
Correct,
game.
Yeah.
Right, all game. So, and for us, right, like that up until that last second, again, it looks like cover 4, right?
Yeah.
We're maintaining the integrity. That's that swap from earlier, right? So again, you want to be the corner as much as possible. They put 2 out there. Let's swap this thing to make everything look the same.
Yeah. No, I love it.
All right. So now we got Sting, right? So big power read team, you know, as one of their big runs. So ideally, we wanted to be able to force the quarterback to keep, right, and blitz that Sting pass, that be the neck of the tackle right into it. But you see how our end is getting a little bit more upfield than his normal anchor, right? He's trying to create room. He's trying to make that B gap open up for that guy to be able to hit through the heels. And again, like they got that condensed set. We're making those receivers block now. We're clearing up the picture for the safety rolling down. Yeah, that safety's not in the fit pre-snap, but again, he fits, I replace, right?
Yeah.
Inside backer pushing the 3 fits, I replace, right? Will's hot 2. 2's pushing on a toss path. I'm working outside into him, right? So it's all relating. It's all same as, and we're able to get this result here.
Yeah, I know it's not power read right here, but I love the idea of using it for a power read path, the interior pressure. So
another Sting path, right? This is, you know, they got us would stretch here, so we didn't get the exact run we were looking for. But again, like I said before, they were a big zone of the tight end team, right?
Yeah.
So one of the things we wanted to do was create that really blurry picture for the quarterback, right? Make that edge step up field, force to give into our safety, who's taking that via the neck path and hopefully taking the ball off the quarterback's hands.
Can I?
So here's our
I got to say something about that.
Which last one?
Can you hear me? Yeah, this is nothing to do with your defense coach. Offensive coaches, quit running stretch when you're backed up to the goal line. There's going to be too much pressure. It never works. Most of the time, you're taking a safety. Just don't run stretch when you're backed up. That's all I got.
I'd love to keep saying it. All right, so now we're on to scrape. So for us, we like to use scrape in a number of situations, right? One of the things we love to do, as you see here, is we'd call near scrape, right? So, you know, still par down situation, but second and long. We wanted to attack the protection, right? So we're bringing that near scrape. We're bringing 2 off the edge to the man side. Again, very easy way to bring an overload, right, without having to change too much for our kids. This is, again, a day 3 thing for us, right? Yeah. Backside, we're still playing over the field, we're playing quarters, right? So for the backside, we're playing 0. And again, we're getting a kid in his face right now, you know, putting our inside backer one-on-one with the running back. Right. So again, another thing, right? We wanted the ball out of this kid's hands as much as possible, right? As much as possible. So for us, you know, we're showing that too high shell. We're making them think that we're running one of our, you know, whether it just be a mint cover 4, but we're bringing pressure, forcing the throw, getting hot coverage, getting 2 over 2, but right, we're getting the screen game. So that number 1 is declaring right now. We're able to get a free hitter. And again, we were able to dictate exactly what we were hoping to dictate there. Right. And this is just, to me, a great example of why we love that Big 12 as an answer for us in the run game. So, again, 9 times out of 10, we're in 3 under 3 deep, and that bandit's out of the fit. But here, we're in that Big 12, you know, version of this, and we're able to gain that overhang in the fit right now. So he's thinking like, hey, I'm cover 4 rules, right? So I'm getting run to me. I'm a hammer player. I'm outside in, and he's able to trigger a lot faster than he would typically in 3 under 3 deep.
Yeah, Coach, I think that's the best point when you're talking about those Big 12 pressures, is that you really have another fitter, just like you said, right? When you do the 3 under 3 deep, like I get, yes, they can all fit, but they have a lot more coverage responsibility. When you're in quarters to 2x2, right, he's like the 2 to the flat pusher. Yeah. So especially here, he's into the boundary, like he can really hang the window and run fit, because let's be real, he doesn't have a whole lot of area to cover. So I think that's a great point to the Big 12 pressure stuff, is that you do gain a really solid overhang to that side. Because the same thing, right? You run quarters, we ran palms, but it's the same thing. The guy is pushing 2 to the flat regardless. So
Yeah.
he can fit a lot more aggressively, especially in this case, in which case you have him into the boundary. So that helps as well.
Yeah. No, I mean, we are, I don't know if we did it well there, but we did run a ton of palms there too. So again, that really allows that guy to sit in the box more and play run now.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I didn't know. I wasn't aware if you played palms or not. I know you kept saying quarter,
yeah.
so.
All right. So again, going that advantage of the Big 12 stuff, right? You know, we're getting this scrape pressure. We're changing the front picture on them. Very easy adjustment for us. We're playing 4-over-3 to the field side. We're able to bracket number 2 here. Mike is playing his cover 4 rules, right? 3 is to me, right? I see quarterback face to me. I got to play slow for the RPO a bit, right? And I'm able to get in that window. Something that wouldn't always be able to happen, right? Playing 3 deep. You know, ideally you do, but this for our kids, right, allowed him to think, change his mindset a little bit more.
Oh, trying to move it here. There we go.
Right. Now here's your far crash, right? So we like this. Again, great example of that high gear. Okay.
Coach, here's a good question. They're in pistol, and you said it's far crash. It's just to the field at that point.
Sorry, I made a mistake. They're in a tray set, so this is open crash.
Gotcha.
Crash. So
okay.
Tight end of the field.
What if you call far crash and they're in pistol now? Actually.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a great question. So we give the kids rules based on who we're playing, right? So I mentioned the team in the black and gold, right? They weren't a big gun offset team, right? So we went into that week knowing, hey, near and far is probably not in the bank this week. This game, they did a little bit of everything. So the rule was like, hey, if we call near or far and that guy's in pistol, just bring it weak, right? We really, especially with if we're seeing an RPO team, we really want to maintain that 3-over-2 integrity there. But great example. Really no read action that guy's getting right now. So he's thinking, hey, I'm shot out of a cannon. Outside hip of the ball carrier. Able to take a shot. Another great one. This one is far crash. I apologize. All right, so now we're getting again making that quarterback give because he's seeing a surf, from that backside tackle.
Yeah.
Giving right into our pressure here. Again, he's aiming for the outside hip of the ball carrier. No worry about read. Again, free rusher, movement in dart kind of screws everything up. All right, now we have our strike. Okay, so you got 2 guys, right, both reading the face of tackle. You see our quicks reading, face of tackle, face of the guard. Quick's going to take the B gap. Will's taking the A gap based on what they're seeing, right, and opening up windows, creating penetration against an offensive line that was, again, much, much bigger than us. All right, and then here's love that this is last. I don't think I even planned it, right? But you're getting a cross action RPO, right? You're sending that quick on a pressure path right now. It's a very clear throw, for the quarterback, and that safety doing a phenomenal job of playing patient and knowing I have the back man to man. I see eyes to me, so I'm going to really kind of sit and wait and then be able to steal that off his hands. I wish I can say, we meant to do it. But, really, really heads up play with that rover there.
Yeah, I mean, we always talked about it where you just be patient, right? I know you have the back, but look, in no way is this guy threatening at all. Relax.
Yeah.
Right. And especially when you get an RPO, just hang out. We tell these guys, just flat foot read it. It's okay. I can because the only path the running back could run here, and I'll kind of draw it at this angle he's taking can only be here.
Totally.
So you're fine hanging out right there.
Mm-hmm.
Just relax. And that was the hardest thing we got for our guys. It was the same thing, right? If we're playing sky backside with the free safety, we used to sky them down to linebacker depth, and then we got backside glances, and it's all right, we're just going to leave him at 9 yards and just tell him to play flat footed and come downhill if he gets a run read. To hang the window of glance. And this is not the same thing, but it's kind of similar, right? He's just hanging the window of glance and then bam.
Yeah.
because he doesn't really have a threat. Just hang it till you have a threat, especially if the quarterback's trying to read you.
Yeah, especially in the RPO world, man. Like, you have to. Like, we always tell guys, like, if you can stare through that quarterback's eyes, it's going to tell the whole picture, right? Because if his eyes are big, looking downfield, right, he's reading something.
Yeah, you can't tell by the play side guard that's blocking the linebacker what it is, So
Exactly.
I mean, he's further downfield than two of the receivers.
Yeah,
I mean,
you'd love that to get called, but not in this world, unfortunately.
No.
Right, and then one more. Now we have that open strike, right? Telling that Mike, that guy has the freedom to run it from depth. This week we did want to adjust it a little bit and have him, time it up, knowing that guy was a good athlete and no matter what happened, could beat that guy across his face. So, again, it's not always that pressure getting the job done. It's the movement within the whole system right now that's allowing us to divide the labor of what we're seeing. And trust what your job's telling you to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's the couple times you've gotten the movement into stretch, and I get that sometimes people say you want to blitz into stretch, but sometimes the movement into stretch is a lot better. So, or outside zone, or whatever you want to call it. So,
we all know it's like you're trying to create a cutback lane for that guy, right? And if you can keep stringing that thing along, I think good things are going to happen.
Correct.
Right. So then, we kind of touched on it earlier, right? But a lot of these pressures, we can then change the picture up a little bit more, go into bear, go into like an odd mug. Again, for us, it's easy adjustments, easy tags for these guys. It's like, hey, I'm still running this pressure, but now my starting location is here, right? And I've always thought, like, fronts are our versions of formations, right? So we're running the same stuff. We're just doing it from a new formation, right? Yeah. So the bear, for us, we got a lot of mileage out of this year for a lot of our sims, a lot of our creepers, but for our 5-man pressures as well.
Love it.
And then additional tags that we can add on to some of those pressures, right? Shoot, text, neck, right? When we want to bring pressure somewhere and potentially solve another problem on the backside of something, right? So you see a really great clip in this number 44, loop it inside, going exactly, feeding that ball carrier exactly where we want him to go, right into that loop. So here is us in bear. All right, we're bringing just tight crash again. Okay, so for us, our version of this in bear, we call it something else, but essentially it's still tight end indicator, right? And it's going to be, hey, I'm either going to run crash from the weak side or scrape from the strong side, right? But you're still getting that targeted approach here, right? Again, duo, we want to create that cluster in the middle. We want that thing to either be held up by that cluster or feed it into where our pressure is coming. Right? See a good communication with our safety and corner, right? That corner wasn't always the most confident going. So you see our safety being like, yo, you're up. But again, getting that movement, creating that free window, completely changing the picture for the offensive line. I think, I know talking to O-line guys, that bear front is a pill. So, we wanted to try to be in that as much as possible. But we see on the back end, right, their rules are exactly the same, right? So the Mike is still a hot 3 player. He's just doing it from a 5. So he's seeing 3 push. He's going to look for the new 3, right? So that division of labor, all the same rules. They're all consistent. Again, we're just changing up the quote-unquote formation.
Coach, the corner right here, I feel his pain.
Yeah.
He comes and he looks up and there's a running back, lead blocker, guard, and tackle. And he's like, oh, shit.
He's a sitting duck.
This is a great time. This is
sitting duck at that point.
If he's Coach, if your guy watches this podcast, I'll be the corner that gives him advice. And I know it's illegal, but I don't care sometimes. Just cut the crap out of both of them.
Just chop it down, man.
Absolutely. Chop the tree down. If they could throw you a penalty, because here in the state of Florida, it's a penalty, you just tip your cap and laugh.
Yeah, absolutely. Survive, man. Survive. All right, so now we got a shoot tag on, right? So we ran a ton of crash, normal crash, those 2 guys nailing across the face. Now we wanted to create that looper, right? Try and let that really good athlete go find a window, right? So again, very, very easy. Everyone else in the picture is exactly the same as crash. That shoot tag is talking to 2 guys, the 3 technique and the 5 technique, this side of the pressure.
So the shoot is, now like I'm just gonna use my terminology here, but
Yeah.
it's a pop, right? The
Yep.
3 is getting vertical, and now the five is now coming over top into the B gap, right?
Exactly.
So okay. Trying to get my bearings of my terminology.
Yeah, no, I hear
too.
it's all the same thing, just different language, right? Same idea here. Great example of just that change up for them, but then also the advantages of that Big 12, right? You see our safety able to really get heavy hands on number 2. We're able to maintain all that RPO blurriness for the quarterback, and now we're bringing a completely different picture for the offensive line up front, blitzing into zone, ultimately creating that free rusher because that loop, right? That's that communication that's happening.
It's a great teaching point here, and I tell kids this all the time when we did twists and stunts and things. The guy who sets the quote pick,
Mhm.
because in theory, right, that guy's setting the pick, a lot of times pops open right afterwards.
Yeah.
And I tell the guys all the time, like, be aggressive setting the pick and then get going, because a lot of the times, for some reason, the O lineman, and I don't know, Matt, if you have any commentary on it, the O lineman like slides out the guy who gets picked, right? So let's say, we did it to the center a lot. Let's say like a 3 tech is picking the center for the nose to go around. It's like the center lets him go after he picks him, and then the 3 tech gets vertical with no one blocking him and gets a sack. So I used to tell those kids all the time, like, make sure you're aggressive if you're the guy who's setting the quote pick, because a lot of times for some reason you just pot free. And this is a great example of that. The 3 tech here, he's the guy who's quote setting the pick, and the guy just lets him go.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I mean. It's like that added movement is just like one more thing for those guys to think about. Like, oh, we got this guy coming, this guy's crossing my face, this guy's coming through, right? So it's, and we see that a lot, like with our, Tom, not whatever you want to call it, right? Like that guy will earhole a center and just like sit there. I'm like, dude,
center
keep going.
Matt, why does centers always suck? No, I'm just kidding. Somewhere, someone who's an ex center for me and Matt's gonna call Bradley Lloyd's gonna call us pissed off, Matt. That's what's gonna happen.
Or Dalton. It's when dealing with stunts like that and guys crossing faces, it's tough for an offensive lineman, just because you get in a routine of not seeing it. Boom, a team breaks it out, and you're just not ready for it. It happens so quick, and they're not that quick.
Yeah, and like with that, and then for us here, like we're able to put the pressure we wanted to. So now we're doing that Tom stunt with our crash, right? So again, for everyone else, it's the same thing. We run Tom without pressure, we run Tom with pressure, right? So now for those 2 guys, they hear Tom, like, all right, I know, like for me, for all the purposes, crash is off. I'm just running Tom, right? And now we're able to build that wall with the pressure, right? Make that thing cut back. And we're creating that free rusher, with that pick Tom stunt.
And like you said, you've created a whole different path with one tag, right? Mm-hmm. Hey, it's, look, Crash Tom or Tom Crash, however you call it.
Yeah.
Right. And to the offense, that feels like a whole different pressure to you guys. Like, you're doing the same thing you've done literally hundreds of times, right? Because you guys love Crash. It's the same way. I loved it too.
Yep.
Our versions of it, we called it, we were all Sting, and we just called various tags like Y open, just like you're talking about. But we ran the crap out of Sting with the overhang coming, and that's exactly what we did. We would, hey, Pop Sting, hey, Tom Sting, all these different ones. And it was like people, you talk to the OC after practice. He's like, man, like, you guys add a bunch of pressures? It's like, no, it's the same thing, man. We just add a couple tags to it. So I love the fact that you're doing that, Coach. It really does resonate with me on these.
All right, same idea, right? We again, and now we're able to change up like how we want that Tom to hit, right? So now it's 3 technique away. Again, it's one more thing. You're getting that nail into the run. You're getting another nail, from the other side, because you're getting the Tom stunt, right? So it's just blurring up a lot again for kids to be able to handle all this movement happen in front of their face. And to your point, Kyle, like that looks like a completely different pressure than the last one we ran, right? And for us, it's just, hey, we're going to set the front here. We call Tom with this. Yeah. They know their Tom rules when the front's sent this way. And it's, a big thing we always talk about is divisional labor, right? From a cover standpoint, from a run fit standpoint, right? Making sure everyone's just doing their piece of the puzzle. It's cliche, but, when you can get the guys to buy into division of labor within it, that's when you're able to take away this kind of modern game of that downfield RPO stuff.
Coach, do you coach the linebackers?
I do. I do.
You do a good job, Coach.
I appreciate
I
it.
love them on Filmer. I've been just watching them the whole time, man. They do a damn good job.
Yeah, listen, I love Seven. Seven's a hell of a player, man. He's going to play Division I ball at
I
Stonehill.
like the little kid too. Who's the little
dude, I'm
kid?
telling you, man, he was a sophomore for us, and we were like, he's big enough. Can he do it? Man, he was as productive as Seven.
Freaking Mighty Mouse. He's killing it though.
He's all 5'8", 165 pounds, but man, he's fearless.
I love him, Coach. I think it's awesome.
Another one with the torch or the Tom. Sorry. All right. Again, just tagging it with hot. So now we're lining up in it. Guys doing the rules. I got 2 out and up, right? And it helps when our edge pressure is free and able to match the hand. Really nice job on the front side, right? Everyone just doing their job, pushing their coverage. See number 7, pushing a 3 immediately, right? Being really patient, knowing I have to make sure 3 releases, I get hands on. Backside, again, another corner was all a 5'8", 5'7", doing a great job of being in phase.
Is this at a 4 down or is this your bear
it's 4
stuff?
down, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So now we see that 3 technique to the pressure. So we're getting the Tom with it.
Yeah. I was seeing where he's got. We have a similar one that I really love that we run. It's we end up in a bear front, no matter what. You probably heard of this, but let's say this guy was the 0. He goes there, and then this guy will come around like that. Plus the edge guys, we call it magic.
I like that.
And it's such a good pressure because this guy comes free a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of times I go back to what we were saying. The 2 guys, this second guy that ends up picking the center comes free a lot too. Really, really good pressure for us. I thought that's what you were running here, so that's why I was eyeing. I was like, is this out of the bear stuff still? Or?
No, we haven't done that one yet. We gotta add that one in this year.
Yeah, we do it, and we walk backers and do it kind of out of a 3-4 look too. The backers were just, you just find the savvy kid that wraps on your team that does it really, really well.
Yeah. So now we got our techs with it. Okay. So again, we brought so much tight end pressure again in their tight crash. So we're corner's doing a great job. Some situation of putting a corner against a buck sweep, but this guy has a little bit better job of kind of using his athleticism. But you see on the back end, we're setting this up where we're getting the techs, we're getting the 3 technique to the B gap, and we're actually looping our edge back into it. So our next one, one of the ones coming up, here it is, right? Same thing. That edge pressure is getting that quarterback to think like, all right, I've seen this all day. I'm going to cut this thing back, and now we're looping right into his cutback window.
Yeah, this is one of those that against Q run can just be a really, really good look.
Mm-hmm.
Just for those of you guys listening, especially when you get right here, right, because you get a pull. That guy, that center wants to block back on the 3 tech who's working out all the way out to the tackle, and now you just get a free inside rusher here. It's very cognizant of, we talked about before, but the best place to blitz power is bring the the will through the backside B gap. Well, you're basically doing this now with the D end. And so it becomes a really, really good stunt. And where I really like it, Coach, is against Q run here. And that's exactly what you're doing.
But that's exactly like our thought with it is like, hey, we know we're seeing a bunch of zone. We know that they like run this kid. I mean, the kid was an absolute stud at quarterback for them. So like, how can we have a very simple answer to fix an adjustment right from them? And for us, it was like, again, going back to the targeted approach, like what do they want to do? And how can we build this pressure to take away the things they want to do to us?
And it's Q run, which sucks. I mean, exactly. I don't care who you are. Defending Q run it sucks. They're +1. You're outnumbered. You have to find a way to change the math. What you do there.
And then here we got another bear front, right? So Quick does a really nice job, right? At the end of the day, it kind of sells us of what we're doing here, and knowing that he's not in the fit or he's not in the rush, but he's getting motion his side. He's adjusting late. But again, that bear, that whatever you want to call that front, right? That bear is really creating one-on-ones for us that we like. Able to create that free rush with just the movement alone. With 44 taking the seam and chasing the dive. There's a better job of him actually chasing, not surfing.
That's true.
Right, and then another front for us, right? So this week we really wanted to, have seen other teams do is, where, we're going to be odd and we want to just put that quick, our weak side, outside back, or wherever the tight end is, right?
Yeah.
So now built in, we're saying, hey, we're calling, let's call it Texan, right? We're calling our Texan front. We know the quick is going to be that edge rusher no matter where he goes. And now, hey, the inside backer is going to run that same scrape path we always run, right?
Yeah.
So again, that was a whole new picture that we hadn't shown yet. That for our guys was a very, very minor adjustment. And on the back end, we're running like a version of Hot 2.
Gotcha.
And now something like this, right? So we call scrape, we tag it with mug, right? So now we tell the guys in mug, hey, you're just going to line up where you're going, right? So now you're getting that true 2 off the edge look with those two guys. Yeah. You're, again, our little guy, Anthony is doing a great job. That guy is a heck of a lot bigger than he is, but he's able to cross the face of a guy who, he's a hell of a lot better athlete than.
I love this little kid, man. I love him.
He's tough as nails, dude. I'm telling you. But again, like now that showing that 2 off the edge is pulling that guard and tackle out to them, freeing up our 3 technique.
Yeah, coach. I mean, right. It's something that we always did, maybe it's not a year 1 thing, but year 2, let's start to add the tags. Let's start to add the mugs and the walks. And like you said, in the bear, and we had one where we walked the backers there and we called it Cub, but it was still bear front, right? We just kind of slightly changed the name, but I think that's the key to evolving your defense, right? We're going to do a lot of the same thing with just a different twist on it.
Yep. There's another mug here, right? Again, we wanted the ball out of this kid's hand as much as possible, in situations that we felt like we needed to. So here we're bringing it to off the edge. We're showing, this pressure look. He's throwing that, we have to win the one-on-ones here. We do a decent job of it, but again, we got what we wanted out of that targeted approach.
Yeah.
Let's see what we got here. All right, so now, on film, we showed a ton of that mug look, right? We showed a ton of traditional scrape from us, right? Now we're just tagging mug with X, right? So now we're just changing up the picture. The inside backer, who would be that cross the face guy, is now going to be your upfield guy. You're going to get the edge pressure guy who's going and being the chase player for the dive. And right, like that lineman seeing cross the face, he's not going to get upfield. We're going to open up that B gap as much as possible, create that free rusher.
I'm muted. I'm over here talking. Sorry, Coach. No, I like this year over here. Right, we're just swapping the path. That's all we're doing. But you've now tagged mug plus swapping the path, right? Again, it's a lot of the same. Feels different, but still a lot of the same.
Yeah, one more of those X's, right? Seeing that scrape from the mug look, eating up blockers.
Yeah.
And now we have our odd mug, right? So now all we do is call, our odd mug front. We run scrape normally, but we just tell them, hey, you're running scrape like you normally would. I'm not going to ask you to back up to come back through, right?
Yeah.
So it just creates that natural text for us. And again, it's one more twist, easy teaching for our guys. Get a really nice job with the 3/2 on the front side for that RPO stuff.
Yeah.
And then we can run those same things out of hot, right? We can run those same things out of cold, right? So it's all these pictures that we're showing on film. Another good one. So, we do a lot. We're as I'm sure you can tell, we're a big pressure team, right? Whether it's 5-man, 6-man, or sims, we do a ton of sims as well. But, we showed a lot of sims against these guys, and now they're thinking that Will's dropping. Well, now we're bringing them and create two free guys. And again, another big spread team, air raid-esque, right? So we want to be in quarters or palms or here we're in stubby, right, as much as possible.
Yeah, it's a great job by your outside guy in stubby. Being patient and flying up.
The last one here. And there's your pick guy, right? Being able to continue to get vertical, run through contact.
Yeah.
make this thing stretch out into our edge path guy.
I think this is the last clip
Yep.
here. Yep, it's the same thing.
And kind of those tags on tags, right? Now we have bear, right? We're going to tag it where now we want the 3 technique to penetrate. The mic's going to go over the top, and we're still running that same scrape path.
Yeah. No, this is killer, Coach. I love this stuff. It's great.
So.
Well, that's awesome, Coach. I love it. I think it resonates a lot with me. I did a lot of the same stuff. I probably didn't have as many passes as you, and I was a little more even front oriented, but I think this is great because, again, I go back to, I think it's cheap, and I don't mean it's easy, but I think it's cheap to install and continue to make variations. And like you said, you can build week to week. You can set offenses up on this, right? Hey, we're bringing the corner, we're doing this, and then bam, now we're doing this and bringing text with it. And I think you guys do a really good job of that. And I loved that you just have these simple tags. So I think it's a really good way that you built it. And I think this is a really valuable podcast for our coaches out there.
No, I appreciate it. And I think, for us, I've coached, a couple of different schools at this point, and to be in this conference now where, we aren't going to be bigger than most teams that we're playing against. Sometimes, sure. But a lot of times we're not. So, I got to give a ton of credit to the coaches on our staff who do a great job of teaching these guys like just their job within this and making sure that we can use the strengths that we have and make sure that we can highlight them to put our guys in the best positions because we do have smart kids. We do have athletic kids. We're just not always the biggest, and that's fine, right? It is. So, but I think for us, it's a matter of like, all right, we know who we are, and we got to just make sure that we're putting our guys in the best position to be successful.
It's awesome. All right, Coach, we end every podcast with the same question. What is the most unique or different thing that your program does that no one else in the country does, or maybe not many?
Yeah, man. Like I said, I watched this podcast a lot, and I knew this was going.
People are cheating now, Matt.
Yeah,
they're actually watching this. How dare they watch?
And listen, from like a program standpoint, I think we do a great job with our off-season stuff and making sure that we can implement all of our stuff as early as possible to make sure these guys can play fast. But I think what's really unique about our program and our school that I've seen in the high school ranks is like we have a phenomenal alumni network here that like I would say rivals most colleges, right? So like I think we do a great job of putting our kids in front of our alums who are doing unbelievable things in their professional lives. And I don't think you see that a ton in high school, right? You see a lot of colleges network their kids with their alums, but we want our kids to be thinking like, hey, this game's going to end for everybody, right? And for a lot of our kids, it's going to end after their last game senior year. So we want to put our kids in a really good position professionally to put themselves where they want to be and be marketable. So I think we do a really good job of like getting our kids the right conversations, putting them with the right people with our extensive alumni network and making sure that whatever you want to do, right, football or otherwise, right, you're going to be in a good position to do that. So I got to say that's probably what is unique about us.
No, I love that, Coach. I always love the answers to that question, so it's always a good one. Matt, I know you must be lagging a little bit because you've been quiet over there. I know you're quiet when you lag, but I know you've been taking notes. So, all right, let's make sure you got the parting words here because you always have the voice of wisdom from 7 pages of notes on every podcast.
All I really have tonight is just you see the structure and simplicity that Coach brings to his players and brings to his team, and you see how the players can play fast in his scheme because they understand what they're doing, and it's not just an attribute to the having smart players, but that they're taught properly and that they're comfortable in the system, and you see that every play with his players. The fact that he keeps it simple for them, I loved the art of war, the way you opened it up, and you put it that way to the players. There's so many things you can do. We can just dress it up, and you let the players go. You let them play, and you let them play fast. And I think that's so important, especially on defense.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
Well, Coach, we appreciate you coming on tonight. I think it was an awesome episode, so appreciate you joining us. And for me and Matt and the board drill and Coach Elder, we will see you next week.